You guys predicted this. G-Shock is updating the GA-010 with an entirely new watch, and this time they're adding solar charging. This particular watch is the GA-B010, where B stands for Bluetooth. So they're taking the GA-010, they're adding solar charging, but with it, they're adding a bunch of other things, such as solar charging, Bluetooth, and you know what, we'll look at it, okay? But you guys remember when I did extensive coverage of the GA-010 and the GD-010 because they're big, basic, bold G-Shock watches, which I was really happy to see. And it didn't have any of all the bells and whistles of connection like the Bluetooth and everything. Just a big old basic watch with a 10-year battery. You know, a lot of you guys don't want all those bells and whistles, right? So the GA-010 and the GD-010, you know, I think that they did pretty well, right? Well, actually, did they do well? I don't know. I mean, they did well for my brother because I got my brother a GA-010 last year for Christmas, okay? Now, the thing is, lots and lots of you guys are saying, take this watch, G-Shock, and add solar, okay? And some of you who are very cynical predicted that they would. But because you're cynical, you guys predicted that G-Shock would add features, but string us consumers along, right? So the GA-010 is a pretty popular watch among guys who want a big old basic bold Ani-digi watch. But they were holding a solar version in the wings for a future release. And they were doing this so that everybody would buy the GA-010. And then when the next iteration comes, that's solar, that they would buy that one. And then maybe they'll add multiband 6 in a third version, right? Well, right now we're at the iteration of solar. So they've taken this GA-010, added solar, and it's the GA-B010. Now me, I'm kind of cynical about some stuff, like about the Bluetooth connectivity. And with some watches, G-Shock just holds a little bit back on the feature set. And you want to just take G-Shock by the lapel and shake him and be like, just add solar. And for some reason, they can't just add solar. With the GA-B010, yes, they've added solar to the GA-010. However, some things have changed. Like I mentioned, Bluetooth connectivity, which some of you will like, okay? In the comments of my coverage of the GA-010, a lot of you guys were pounding the table demanding solar and Bluetooth because you wanted that connectivity. Other guys are pounding the table saying solar and multiband 6 because you don't want Bluetooth, but you do want that time sync, okay? But another thing they changed, as you will see, is that they smushed the screen, okay? I'm not happy to report this, but the GA-B010, the LCD subdial of this Ani-digi watch is smushed compared to the GA-010, okay? Now, great G-Shock, or excuse me, the CasioBlog.com is where I first saw this GA-B010. So I dialed up this blog post by Yamakot, and I had Google translate it from its language, which I believe is Russian. Actually, I said it's Russian. I could be wrong about this, and I'm really sorry if I made a mistake, but I think it's Ukrainian, okay? Those of you who can confirm that, let me know. But anyways, Google has translated it for me. And let me read this article about the GA-B010, which is titled Tough Solar Bluetooth, Pedometer, and Carbon Fiber. And this is by Yamakot. Rumors about a new G-Shock GA-B010 case were confirmed. In November, Casio unveiled the new model in 3 colors, the black GA-B010-1A, the black inverted GA-B010-1A1, and the dark green GA-B010-3A. The watch is very similar to the relatively new generation of Ani-digi G-Shocks, the GA-010, but it features a more advanced module and a number of cosmetic changes. We'll discuss all these in the blog post. All right, let me jump here and say that Yamakot makes a good point that the GA-010 just came out like a year ago, right? I bought a GA-010 for my brother. He loves it. It's, he thinks that solar panels are communist. So if I was like, hey, Russ, would you like a watch that is solar charging? He would probably like just flat out reject it, that he thinks solar is a scam and all solar panels are a scam. I'm trying to explain to him, you don't need to sign a lease to install solar panels on your G-Shock, but he still won't listen, okay? He just flat out rejects all solar charging. And so that 10-year battery of the GA-010 is something that I think that he really appreciates, and the simplicity, just the basic watch. And he's old school. He likes the analog hands. And, it has an LCD screen on the GA-010, really big, really easy to read, positive LCD, okay? Now, this GA-B010, like I said, the screen is smushed. They've added Bluetooth. Yes, they've added solar, but they've also added a pedometer, okay? So they're like bringing it into the G-Shock Move lineup, which is their fitness watches. But anyways, let me jump back into the article by Yamakot. Fans of the shock-resistant lineup warmly welcome the GA-010 and GD-010 cases. The affordable G-Shock segment was in dire need of a significant upgrade. After their release, fans received near-perfect and affordable models, priced under $150, complete with a 10-year battery life. But this time Casio has gone even further. The GA-B010 now offers a pumped-up module, adding solar power, Bluetooth, and even a pedometer to the feature list. The GA-B010 follows the trend for larger cases, measuring 52.3 millimeters by 49.3 millimeters by 15.2 millimeters. Slightly smaller than the GA-010, but still considered a substantial watch. This is for a wide and informative dial. This is all for a wide and informative dial where the designers focused on easily readability of both the hands and the digital windows. Between the crystal and the bezel is a ring, possibly made of steel, with a vapor-deposited finish for a metallic sheen. The carbon core remains. The model boasts increased strength, thanks to the use of carbon in its structure. All right, now let me just jump in here and point out that when you look at the dial of the GA-B010, it's like you have the analog hands, and like I said, the LCD subdial is smushed towards the bottom of the watch, towards the 6 o'clock position. And there is a subdial in the top right corner in between the 1 and 2 o'clock positions, all right? And it's pushed to the perimeter. So you don't see the whole circular edge of that subdial, okay? Now on the left-hand portion, the whole quadrant from all the way from the center of the watch that sweeps out from the 9 o'clock position to the 12 o'clock position has no subdial, okay? Just nothing, which is unusual for a G-Shock watch because they like to stuff, little subdials, little decorations everywhere. The GA-B010 does not have little decorations. Now I call them little decorations. They're kind of like, they look like the background of like an 80s Nintendo game, like Mega Man, like little blips and things that move, like little LCD animations, and you're like, what's this all about? What does it do? You guys remember playing like Nintendo games as a kid, like Mega Man? In the background, stuff would be happening, like things would be moving all around. You have no idea what they're doing. They're just decorations. Sometimes it seems to me that G-Shock watches have that. And it can be, sometimes like the style can be kind of cool. It can be a little bit juvenile. Depends on where you're coming from. But the GA-B010 doesn't have anything in the entire left quadrant, the entire upper left quadrant. Again, one whole sweep of 90 degrees from the 9 o'clock to the 12. That whole slice of pie, it just says Casio G-Shock. step tracker Bluetooth. Now, why is that? I would assume right now that it has to do with the solar charging, that they're adding in as much solar panel as they can. And I welcome that. If they are improving that tough solar performance with this, I am all in favor of that. Okay. And now it does seem a little bit bland, though. You don't have all of those little Mega Man decorations, all the Farkle, like the waitresses at TGI Fridays with all these little buttons on their aprons. You don't have that on this watch face. So what do you guys think? Chime in the comments what you think about the appearance of this watch if you're looking at it right now with me. If you're listening on the podcast, I hope that I explained it to you well enough that the dial of this watch does not have a whole bunch of animations and decorations. And I'm assuming right now it's for the purpose of the solar charging. Let me jump back into this article by Yamakot. The manufacturer claims to have made significant progress in reducing power consumption. The pedometer sensor now uses 40% less battery than previous generations of G-Shock. This reduces battery drain during intense workouts and pedometer use. A circular window on the watch face displays your daily step goal progress as a percentage, and your step count can be seen on the main display. All right, let me jump in here and tell you that, this subdial I was talking about in the top right quadrant, this sweeps out your goal, your progress you've made towards your goal, like the fit ring on your iPhone. All right, and this article says that the pedometer uses 40% less battery. All right, and so I've had mixed results with the pedometers on G-Shock watches. The GBDH 2000 I thought was good. I didn't nail it down exactly to the steps, but steps that my experience were accurate. I mean, a lot of you are very particular about how accurate the pedometer was. I never went into that much detail in testing the GBDH 2000 for the accuracy of the pedometer. But we could still do that. I could still do that. I have not done that as of yet, but I can tell you that some of the other ones, though, were that I had a lot of problems with their accuracy. And this is a Casio watch. I think it's the WSB-1000. It registered my moving the steering wheel as steps, and I think the vibrations. I drive a big rig, and so I was driving a big rig truck from Odessa to Ozona, Texas, and the WSB-1000 registered a lot of steps. It thought I was running from Odessa to Ozona. Not true. I was actually driving a big rig. And so how accurate will this new pedometer be, given that it uses 40% less battery? I don't know. We shall see. If you guys are interested, I'll see if I can pick up one of these GA-B010s and test it out, see how well it works. All right, jumping back into the article by Yamakot. Using Bluetooth and the Casio Watches app on your smartphone, you can track your activity by day, week, and month, set goals, and fine-tune your watch, not to mention synchronize the time. In addition to the main LED backlight, the Japanese company added a nice luminescent backlight to the hands and hour markers. It won't last long in the dark, but in some cases it can be useful, eliminating the need to turn on the backlight each time. The bezel and strap are made of eco-friendly bioplastic, a staple material for Casio, just as rubber once was. The case back features the carbon core guard engraving and other functional designations. The basic features remain the same: world time, stopwatch, timer, 5 alarms, hourly signal, and dual LED super illuminator, calendar, battery charge indicator, time in the 24/12-hour format, hand shift function, date in 6 languages, including Cyrillic, 200-meter water resistance. The GA-B010 will initially retail for around $180, with sales expected this month. And Yamakot asks, do you think we should expect a similar upgrade for the GD010 digital cameras? That might be a translation error. Digital cameras. But yeah, they've just like you guys, like I said at the beginning, you guys predicted this. You guys when we were first looking at the GA-010 and the GD-010, some of you who are very cynical were saying that, yeah, the solar one is coming, the Bluetooth one is coming, but they're going to string us along. Rather than give it to us all up front at the beginning, they know that a lot of us will buy the non-Bluetooth, non-solar, and then when the Bluetooth solar comes out, we'll buy that one too, right? These guys are so shrewd over there, aren't they? That's the corporate culture for you, huh? But yeah, I mean, I guess if you like the big bold screen on the GD-010, which is the digital watch, the fact that they've updated the Ani-digi means that they could be updating the GD-010. So if you're holding out for either Bluetooth or solar, you know, you might have your chance at a solar GD-010. All right, we'll see if it happens. But you know, this transition of the GA-010, you know, I think is like, you know, really typical of G-Shock, that we just want one thing changed in the next iteration of a watch, but they don't do it. They just change a bunch of things. Like I said, that we have a pedometer, which some of you want, a lot of you don't. We have Bluetooth, some of you want, a lot of you don't. And we have solar, which I think that most of the viewers of the Jim Kincaid YouTube channel want solar. Now, there are a few holdouts to solar. And the last time we were talking about the GA-010 and the GD-010, some of you were still adamant about wanting just to not have solar because you thought that the battery was better and stronger when it's just a 10-year battery rather than solar. And you also didn't want time sync because time sync can lead to problems in terms of daylight savings, you know, the signal being corrupted or incorrect, potentially, stuff like that. And, you know, so there's a lot of different viewpoints among fans of G-Shock watches, and I think that's part of the reason why they make a whole variety of them. You know, to kind of, they have a lot of different tastes to cater towards with G-Shock watches. It's not like with Apple watches, which is essentially a computer that, you know, they just make a little chiclet-shaped Apple Watch, and since everything is software-based, really easy to change, update according to the desires of the end user, because it's all software. But you know, with G-Shock, so much of it is with hardware that way too many different people to please. You know, people of a whole different opinions, right? And so when I look at this GA-B010, I mean, yeah, I'm glad it has solar, but what I really like about the GA-010 is just that how big and legible that LCD subdial is, okay? And it goes wall to wall. The LCD subdial on the GA-010. Basic and bold is what I called it. It goes wall to wall. And same thing with the GD-010. Like probably the biggest of all of the digital screens on the G-Shock lineup right now. Over there at Great G-Shock World, which is gshockjp.blog.jp, he had some interesting details about the GA-B010 in a blog post he published, and I went there for you guys. As I've explained before, you have to dodge a lot of pop-up ads when you go to Great G-Shock World, and some of you may not have the time or energy to like click away on all the pop-up ads that are flying at you, or the mandatory 20-second videos that you have to watch. Well, I'll do that for you. It's a service that I provide to the G-Shock watch community. And so I'm over here at Great G-Shock World, and I translated it too. I have access to Google Translate. Don't want to brag, but I can use Google Translate to translate this article right in the browser, which in this case is Google Chrome. But anyways, Great G-Shock World writes that The new big case model GA-B010, whose existence was announced a few months ago, is now available. Let me just jump in and say that it's available in Japan right now. To wait a little while before it's available in the United States. Getting back into the article. The first G-Shock to measure life logging using solar power alone. While many G-Shock models have Bluetooth connectivity and the ability to connect to smartphone apps and manage life logging, most have been battery powered. The GA-B010 is the first G-Shock to feature life logging functionality in a tough solar model, thanks to a newly developed module that uses an LSI and proprietary algorithm to reduce power consumption, reducing power consumption for step counting by approximately 40% compared to previous models. In addition to life logging, the watch offers a wide range of everyday functions, including world time, a stopwatch, high brightness, full auto, double LED light with easy operation via the large front button, and luminous indices and hands. The exterior boasts a large LCD screen, vapor-deposited ring bezel, a dial with Ashiko finish, and a metallic in-dial ring for a durable look. All right, well, let me provide some commentary on this article from Great G-Shock World. He includes a picture of the LED that illuminates the dial of the watch, and it emanates from the 9 o'clock index. And in this particular picture, it looks very bright. Okay, some of these Ani-digi watches are bright enough that at night that you can kind of make out your bed. Like say if you're in one of those man camps where the light switch is like across the room, you have to walk across the room to turn off the light and then walk back to your bed in the dark. Well, you get a G-Shock watch that has a really bright LED illumination that it may help you at least get back to the bed. Now I'm wearing the Mudmaster now, and it is not like that. It's not bright enough. However, my Fine Metallic Series G-Shock watch is that bright, and maybe it's because it's so shiny that it reflects that LED everywhere. I don't know. Now, Garmin bros who are watching right now will point out that a lot of Garmin watches have flashlights on them. How G-Shock made all these watches without flashlights, I have no idea. But somehow Garmin beat them to that feature, which I think is hilarious. Like if you were to ask anybody, say 10, 15 years ago, which watch company is going to be the first with a flashlight on it? Everybody would say G-Shock, but it wasn't. It was Garmin. Really funny, but anyways, so he mentions that Great G-Shock World mentions that this GA-B010 is the first of all of these fitness watches from Casio G-Shock that the whole thing is solar charged. Okay, and I'm happy for that. You guys know that I have a lot of those watches that you gotta plug in, and for me, I understand that you have to plug in a watch when it has the GPS, such as on the GBD H2000 and the GPR H1000, which is the third generation Rangeman. Those have GPSs in them to help with your fitness tracking and your trekking and your runs and everything. And so I understand that the power consumption of a GPS can't be solar charged. So I understand that you got to plug that one in. But the DWH-5600 didn't have GPS, but you still had to plug it in. And even if you didn't use the heart rate monitor, just the watch alone would eventually require being plugged in. It may take months and months and months. It may even take a year. But when you think about it with a G-Shock watch, if you just use it as a regular watch, and in 1 year you had to charge it, that's like halfway to 2 years, which some G-Shock watches have a battery that lasts 2 years. Like some of these G-Shock fitness watches have a 2-year battery life because of the step counter that's built in, the pedometer. And so the GA-B010 is a monumental watch for G-Shock because it has a step counter that's powered by solar charging. Okay, so that's pretty cool. All right, the more I look at it, I never actually got for myself a GA-010, and I doubt my brother would be interested in a GA-B010. I mean, he now that I think about it, he would not be at all interested in a GA-B010. So I would say that, you know, we'll see how much money I have in the war chest, but we can check it out, right? So looking at the GA-010 on the G-Shock website, like I said, when this came out, and it was only about a year ago, this is big, basic, bold, and the price is affordable. And I think it's noteworthy, the price level of the GA-010 and the price level of the GD-010, because even Termit said that the prices were like he was in favor of the prices. Like I'd be interested to see what Termit has to say about the GA-B010. Termit, I mean, you can find his comments below. He's a G-Shock OG. He talks about how the quality of the older G-Shocks are better than some of these newer ones. But I remember him saying that about the GD-010 and the GA-010 that the price point is I remember him, like, they're not too expensive, right? But some of these G-Shock watches are out of control expensive, right? The Mudmaster is $800. The Mudmaster GWG B1000. And so it's like we want some more affordable G-Shocks. That's like the essence of G-Shock, is like an affordable watch that's indestructible. And so the GA-010 and the GD-010 were that way. And we'll see what the exact price is of the GA-B010. When you add in solar charging, you add in Bluetooth, you boost up the price, okay? And so if you're really price conscious, the GA-010 may be the way to go, because you're not paying up for Bluetooth or solar stuff that you may not want or need. A 10-year battery life, a 10-year solid, reliable battery, for some guys may be worth it, rather than paying up for solar charging that could cause a headache if you don't get enough sun. Like if you're way, way, way up north, like Canada, or Scotland, and it's like this time of year, the sun's setting. Say if you're working the night shift, you just don't get enough sun. It would be kind of annoying to look down at your watch and see it in low power mode. But then, like, if you have that 10-year battery, that you never need to worry about it, right? And so G Central also covered the this new GA-B010, and he points out that it's the continuation of the GA-100, the GA-110, and the GD-100, 110, etc., that came from the 2010s. And he says that those series focused on utility and practicality. And he also comments about how it's affordable. And so he defines affordable as under $200. Okay. And also notes about how a lot of those other the other solar watches for the fitness watches of Casio were solar assist, and that this watch is actual tough solar. All right. Now, when you look at the GA-700, that watch series looks very, very similar to the GA-010, right? It has a very big LCD subdial at the bottom, and this particular watch, I mean, it's a previous iteration, so the GA-010 is an update to that, right? But this new watch, the GA-B010, doesn't follow the GA-700 and the GA-010 in terms of what its LCD subdial looks like. Because when you look at the GA-700 and the GA-010, that LCD subdial has big, thick segments, and it goes wall to wall. The LCD subdial of the GA-B010 it looks more like the GBA 950 and the GBA 900, both of which are from the G-Shock Move lineup. And these subdials are more compact, and they don't have the eight the segments. They have more of a dot matrix added in, so that they display more information in a more like compact way. And so I think that you guys know that, you know, I prefer like big and bold, but are they making it smaller for energy consumption? Are they making it smaller because they're kind of recycling parts of these modules? I don't know. Speaking of the GBA 950, I was interested in that watch, actually. I thought it was a cool looking watch. And in America, they have a black version with green indices and kind of a white, off-white version with lime green indices. But then in the international markets, they have a purple one. And what's really interesting about the purple one is that it's purple like some toys were in the 80s, you know, like Shockwave or Cobra Commander or Skeletor. Like, you might think, oh, purple, it's like a frou-frou girl color. Well, if you grew up watching cartoons and comics back in the 80s, like there was some like pretty awesome stuff that was purple. Like I said, Shockwave from Transformers, I believe, is one of them. And so that purple G-Shock watch, like I was kind of thinking about getting it. It would be like kind of like a little bit of a nostalgia thing, but it was not released in the United States. Nonetheless, the GBA 950 looks pretty cool. It is a Ani-digi watch of the G-Shock Move, meaning there's a pedometer. But this particular watch does not have solar charging, okay? And the battery, I'm trying to look at the website to see what the information is on the battery, to see how long the battery lasts. If any of you guys know, you should probably, oh yeah, 2 years, 2-year battery life on the GBA 950, and then on the GBA 900, it's the same thing, 2 years battery life, and that's with normal usage. So you know, I don't like, kind of annoying, you know, to have to go out and buy a watch for your battery, and I wouldn't mind changing it just because I think it would be fun to like take out the tools and like take it apart. The problem is like, it's probably not going to need a replacement at a convenient time. You know, like it would be terrible to like say you're out on a camping trip or whatever, and suddenly your watch is flashing low battery because your 2-year battery is about to die, and it's a pretty inconvenient time to have to charge it. And that's one thing I like about the solar charging is that, you know, I get enough sun. It's not really something I ever have to worry about. I'm outside all the time and living on a latitude line that gets plenty of sun, right? So, you know, I'm down here in Texas, so the solar charging works out for me, and I like the idea of you know, getting free energy from the sun just shining down on you. Now, the GBA 900 does look like a cool watch. Like, it seems like the only downside is just a short battery life. You know, it has like these ventilation holes, allow air to get under your watch and to evaporate some sweat. But the GA-B010, I think that it should go over well to all you guys who are saying that you like the GA-010 but wish you had that Bluetooth. Or, well, most of you guys are saying you wish you had that solar charging. You know, the comments of my videos, I think, are pretty funny sometimes because, you know, there's all these different camps. Like I was explaining earlier, there's some guys who are adamant that they want solar charging in multiband 6. And I'm in that camp. Like, I just like solar charging, as I just explained, and I like multiband 6. It's easy for me to pick up. And they did not add multiband 6 to the GA-B010. Okay, some of you are adamant about Bluetooth. You just want that Bluetooth. And so there's a lot of friction. There's a lot of back and forth in the comments, guys, like the Bluetooth guys going to war with the non-Bluetooth guys, the multi-band 6 guys, dropping elbows and clotheslines onto the guys who are dead set against multi-band 6. It's a Royal Rumble, really. Guys jumping off the top rope, wanting the trifecta, the tough solar, multi-band 6, and positive LCD. These are the G-Shock OGs, the G-Shock old heads. That's what you want. Positive LCD. And, you guys are like the old timers. You need some help getting up to the top turnbuckle. But once you get up there, you're jumping. There's a huge elbow about to drop down on the heads of, 10-year battery, no Bluetooth, no solar charging type of guys. It's just a brutal fight. So, don't hold back. Jump in the comments and let us know what you want in the G-Shock watch. Because a lot of you guys predicted that this watch would exist because you were so cynical. You knew that G-Shock was stringing us along the whole time. You knew that they could have had solar charging from the get-go, but they didn't because you knew that some guys would buy that non-solar version while you wait for the solar version to come out, right? And I knew that sometimes it's tough to get just one feature added to a G-Shock watch if they add a lot of stuff with it. And that's the case with the GA-B010. So stay tuned. I'll let you guys know if I find out about a GD-B010. And, Lord willing, maybe we'll get our hands on the GA-010 and we'll run it through the paces, because one feature that was really popular in the GA-010 was that if you press the start button from the main time screen, it would start up that stopwatch. Okay, that's a really cool feature. The Rangeman GW94 has it, or 9400 has it, and I wish that more G-Shock watches did it. I believe the GD350 does too. I don't own that one, but we'll see whether this new GA-B010 has a stopwatch. It starts right from the main time screen by pressing the start button, but given the appearance of it, I think that its features may be more similar to the GA900 and the GBA950. But we shall see. Gentlemen, remember, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him. I'm Jim Kincaid. Thanks for watching.